what's going on, guys? So today we're talking about the best-selling cards under $5 or less. The penny stock market watch, Yu-Gi-Oh! Penny stock market watch. Let's get it popping with a new card. These are the top 3 cards for Magnificent Mavens. A lot of really solid reprints as well as new cards from Magnificent Mavens. If you control no monsters in your main monster zone, you can special summon this card. You cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck for the rest of this turn after this card resolves. Except Sky Striker Ace monster. Okay. Also send one other card you control to the graveyard if you do special summon Sky Striker Ace monster, and if you do, and if you have at least one light, one dark. Interesting. Is this good? I haven't played Sky Striker enough to know if this is good or not. It being a quick play is pretty interesting. It not being once per turn feels pretty solid too. But I don't know. I don't know how good this card is. As far as whether or not to invest in it, Sky Striker's not really in the best spot right now. I do think Mystic Mind Sky Striker is pretty interesting, but I don't know how good it is against tier elements Shizu. Which, as you can see, the Shizu cards are roaming around. Let's take a look at these. I'm trying to figure out how to find all these. Let's go here. Let's do this. Because here's the thing. Obviously, tier element is Shizu. It's the best deck in the room. Doesn't necessarily mean you can't still have fun. Actually, I should have kept it with best selling. Let's keep it with best selling. I feel like the Shizu stuff has probably been the best selling stuff here. And, a lot of it is, relatively speaking, cheap. I mean, it's $7.50, it's $3. I think you run 2 or 3 of this one, 3 of this one, sometimes 2 of that one. I think 3 of this one, 2 or 3 of that one. And they are a very, very good engine. I was kind of talking about one of them last week. In any decks other than the Shizu tier elements. Like I talked about Madolche, I talked about Vernus, that archetype. I also talked about a Fluffle. Like Fluffle Shizu is interesting. And if these cards are able to stay budget, that could be a pretty solid engine, kind of like what Tri-Brigade is. Sorcel a little bit. Sorcel's a little too restrictive for my taste, but Tri-Brigade's kind of like that. I'm trying to think of another little like Zodiac is kind of like that, where there's just really solid engine. There are a lot of archetypes that love using the graveyard, and obviously, right at this exact moment is probably not the best time to try it out. Like I think I saw like a Shizu Infernoid, which actually makes a lot of sense if you think about it. But none of them are as good as tier element of Shizu, obviously. But picking up this package now, I mean, obviously 3 of the top 5 best-selling cards under $5 or less for Yu-Gi-Oh! Are Shizu cards. Are they all on here? They're not all in the top 25, but one of them is above $5 too, though. Right? Like, we just looked at Magnificent Mavens. I wonder if we just sneak back in real quick. Like, 1, 2, 3, 4 of the best-selling 9 cards, right? You got Evenly's, Imperm, Skill Drains, the Sky Striker card we were just looking at, Lightning Storms, Triple Tactics Talent. So a solid investment, a great engine, and relatively budget. If we go to eBay real quick, we usually do eBay at the end of the video, but I just think it's interesting. I think picking up the Shizu package, like the Shizu core, it could be interesting. Now this is too much. I'm trying to see if this is everything. That's another thing too. They came from Mavens, which means that they're also all ultra rares, which means they very easily get more expensive as time goes on. I'm having a tough time finding something. Why is this upside down? Oh, there we go. They moved it. Okay. Um, it's not looking super fantastic on eBay, if we're being honest here. And by no means am I saying you got to go and buy, where to just go, this, right? A Shizu tier element. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm just talking about the Shizu package as an engine. Because you don't need a lot. I'm curious what, like, diviners and orange lights are. I assume they're not too much. We might actually end up seeing them on this marker watch. But it's just something to keep in mind. Let's just look at orange light. We'll look at only orange light because I think because diviner did though. Didn't diviner get a reprint? I think it might have recently. Okay, so that's not a penny stock. You hate to see it. Uh, what about the other ones? I bet you this one is though, and no one would see this coming. But this is actually a really good card. So the orange one, it's actually funny because it's kind of like the Gradles. Like Gradle Cobra, if it's destroyed by a trap, it can do the snatch steal. But it's also like the artwork is red. The heralds, these little orange and greens and purple lights are like that too. So this stops spells, which could be kind of like when your opponent just drops, a lightning storm and you just say no. It's interesting. And then the diviner, I would assume diviner is really expensive too, but wishful thinking. Okay, that's not that expensive, but it's also not a penny stock, so you just have to kind of get the Ishizu stuff without those cards to make it. Because once you start getting orange light, and diviner, it does start to creep up a little bit. This is weird. I don't know why. I mean, this is not that bad of a monster, but this archetype didn't really need a Link monster, and it certainly didn't need a Link 3 monster. Like, I don't even know. Does this archetype make this card? How does this archetype work? Can someone let me know in the comments down below if this is a good archetype or not? Because the last time I saw the Blackluster Soldier archetype, it wasn't very good. And it's not. I mean, yeah, obviously Yugi used it in the original anime, which does make it somewhat popular, but it's kind of like Amazonis though, or like Go Go Go's from Zexal. Like just because an archetype is featured in the anime doesn't mean it's going to be like a fan favorite popular one. And I know Blackluster Soldier seems more popular than Go Go Go's, but it's nowhere near as popular as like Harpies, Dark Magician, Blue Eyes. I don't really think this would be a solid buy. But I'm always down to look. Half the other versions are pretty expensive for some reason. So I don't recommend buying it, but this is not one that I'm super hard on. Like, you can't buy it, don't buy a terrible card. Like, it could definitely go up in price. And I try to mention this at least once every market watch. Always spend your money how you feel, right? I know, like, at least like 95% of my viewers are not subscribers, so that means it's probably watching it for the first time. So if to my subscribers, if me always saying that gets annoying, I apologize. But it really is something I want to hammer home as much as possible. Like, you can watch not just Yu-Gi-Oh, just like everything. If someone's like, "Oh, you should buy this," or "Oh, it's such a good deal here," you spend your money how you feel because it's your money and you earned it, right? Um, I don't think Blackluster Soldier, Soldier of Chaos, the Blackluster Soldier Link Monster is a good buy, but it could be, right? And if you think it is, go crazy. If you think it is, and you got the money, go bananas. Harpies. I'm worried this card might get hit on the ban list. Just saying. I'm just saying. This card's kind of falling. Was to be expected. Sword Soul cards, Nibiru, this Vernus card. Vernus is fun. A Shizu, I don't know if a Shizu Vernus is good, but it's gotta be okay, right? A Shizu Vernus. I haven't seen it anywhere. This is usually mostly getting used though in Materia right now. Gozen match for Magnificent Mavens. I don't think Gozen match is as good as like Rivalry of the Warlords right now, which is interesting. Because if you look at a Shizu tier elements, and I actually talked about this in my video. If you haven't looked at it, go ahead and check that out now. The Shizu tier element, I actually did a how to beat video on that deck, and I talked about floodgates. are actually surprisingly good against that archetype. Yeah, I know they have the field spell, but the field spell only gets rid of one per turn, right? Um, Goes in match though, they run a lot of darks. A lot of. They definitely can play under goes in match. They struggle a little bit more under rivalry. Ice Dragon's Prison is interesting. Used to be a super expensive card. The thing about this card is there was like some murmurings when this card was like everywhere. Like when this was the only version that was out, people were talking about ban list, ban list, ban list. It's not gonna ever be on the ban list, so it's definitely a solid buy. It's got a great effect. Target one monster in your opponent's graveyard, special summon to your field, but its effects are negated. Then you can banish one monster from both players' fields of the same type, right? Um, in a mirror match, this is crazy because you can special summon a crazy monster. Because it's not the restriction. It's not restricted based on the positioning, right? So like Salamangreat versus Mathmech, for example, you could summon out a transcode talker, um, banishing your opponent's like access code talker and your foul, Salamangreat foul, and then using like the Jaguar that's on board or in graveyard, bringing it back out makes access code talker, right? Like that interaction is unique. But there's also just the fact that most archetypes run the same type, right? So, for the Shizu tier element players, they're summoning, and that's huge against the Shizu tier element being able to banish monster, right? They bring out one of their Shizu monsters, and there's another one. I think the one I don't remember which one it is, but there's one that brings out another Shizu monster because that's how that archetype is. And as soon as they come down, they're gonna have one in the graveyard. You take one out of the graveyard, you banish both of them, right? So it is still a really solid card. And this is the cheapest printing of it. I feel like this was a bottom though. I don't think it's gonna get much lower than this. Now the other printings recently coming out are why this card's not necessarily gonna pull vault over $5. If we look at the other listings though, is this one under? This one's still under $5. But it won't be for long. So this version actually of this card could be something to keep an eye out for. A lot of times with cards like this, even the more and more printings they get, like take Effect Veiler for example, which I would argue has just as much potential as being an effective card as Ice Dragon's Prison. Um, this was actually a great example because obviously none of them are like $100, $1,000, or anything like that. But we look at the best-selling version of, and this is funny. This is so funny. I remember these having the yellow clearance stickers at Walmart, and now these are crazy. But anyway, $11 in climbing, $11 for damaged. Near mints for this are 20. You're like, oh, Connor, why are you showing this as a penny stock? The reason I'm showing you this is because look at how many printings of Effect Veiler there are, right? I mean, 3, 6, 9, 12, 14 printings of Effect Veiler, and the highest selling version is still $20. When we look at Ice Dragon's Prison, right? Maybe it won't reach all the way up to $20, but not this version, but this version does have some potential. It definitely has some potential. So I would just keep. I clicked on the wrong one. I would just keep my eye out for it. Prismatic secret rares are interesting though, right? The first one to come out doesn't always necessarily translate to the most expensive one. Right now for this card, it does though. But it is just something to keep in mind about this card. I would pick these up now. I would pick these up as soon as possible. And look at the Invasion Vengeance version. You know, if you've always, I really liked this one actually. I don't usually like rares, but I do like gold rares. This one's really solid too. I think these two look just as good as each other. And this one's literally a quarter of the price. And the ultra rare probably looks solid too. But just pick this one up now. I understand Rodent Totem got hit. I understand that Sprite is really kind of moving away from the frog package. I understand that Paleozoic is nowhere to be found. And whatever else other archetype makes this card doesn't seem to be anywhere. This card always randomly pops back into the meta. It's just way too strong of a card, at least right now. to not, especially because Bahamut Shark also summons it out. So I would pick up. I mean, you could pick up this version if you want to. It's kind of weird. This version has more listings. 152 to the 93 to the 99. It's interesting. I mean, this one has the most listings, right? But all of these are solid buys. I would say every single version of it. But if we're just talking specifically, like, what do you think? What do I think is the best value? It is probably going to be that are in amongst the penny stocks. Not this one. This isn't a penny stock. So amongst these two, it will probably end up being this one because I feel like ultra rares are a little pretty. It could be very close though, because in most cases, the older the card is, the more expensive it's gonna be. But totally awesome. I would just pick up one just in case you see an archetype that you would like to play. Um, because there's gonna be a situation, right, where like take for example, a couple of years ago I bought the ice barrier structure, freezing chains, and I needed to pick up Toad. Toad was kind of like $10 or $15, which is like fine, but that's how much the structure set cost, right? Like don't put yourself in that position, right? Um, Now, as far as like selling this back, there is still potential there, right? So just be on the lookout for all versions of Totally Awesome. Road and Tone just got hit. The frog package is decimated. This is probably a low spot for this card. So I would definitely take a look on that. But like I always say, spend your money how you feel. I knew it! I freaking knew it! Dang it, dang it, dang it, dang it, dang it. A week ago, I did my video, like I just referenced. Oh man, there's only 2 copies of these? Dang it! A week ago, I did the video on how to beat a Shizu tier element. And I noticed a lot of people in their videos were either like briefly mentioning this card or weren't talking about this card. And so I was like, I should pick up this card. I bet you over the weekend it got played somewhere. That's what happened. But it also hard counters all graveyard decks. Um, I don't lose out to FOMO. FOMO is the worst thing that you can do. Fear of missing out. Did I miss the train? Is it too late to buy in? I think so. I think it's a little too late to buy in. It reminds me of this card. This card was randomly on a top 8 of a YCS, and now look at it. It gets a random reprint that completely undercuts the price. That's what happens to cards like this. Okay, it's going to get a random reprint, maybe even in the Dark World deck, even though it kind of hard counters Dark World deck, because this negates both sides. Right? So that makes it a little worse. Like Abyss Dweller is only your opponent, right? It is an Abyss Dweller, but you have to discard it and it negates both sides. Right? It's not that great of a card. Don't lose out to fear of missing out. Skip this card. If you already have it though, now's the time to sell. But let me know what you guys think. What are the best selling cards under $5 or less? Let me know in those comments down below. Make sure you guys click that like button and show your support for the channel. Subscribe for even more content. But most importantly of all, have a good day.